Curious about the stages a man goes through when he's falling in love with a woman? Want to know how you can use these stages to your advantage to amplify his attraction for you? I've got all that coming up for you right now. Hey everyone, I'm dating and relationship coach Ryan Patrick. I'm about to pack in so much value right now to increase your understanding of men significantly, all in just one 10-minute video. You're not only gonna learn the 7 stages how men fall in love, but you're also gonna learn those stages where most women get hung up and where a guy can actually start losing attraction for you. Finally, I'm gonna teach you how to hotwire a guy's attraction for you within these 7 stages to give you the best chances at getting a commitment from him. Now, for those of you who may be brand new to my channel, I make helpful videos about attraction and male psychology that come out every Monday. I would love for you guys to subscribe below and become the newest members of this community that we've been growing. And please make sure to turn on all notifications so you never miss when a new video is coming out. Now, let's jump right into the 7 stages how men fall in love with you. The first stage is the targeting stage. Now, this is the initial stage where a guy is first checking you out either in real life in person or via an online dating profile which you created. Typically, you won't know right away that he's taken an interest in you because it's done from afar. His interest is derived from your physical characteristics first. If he likes your look, then he'll be investigating a little further. During this stage, it's very common for men to start to gather information on you, and he can do this through your online profile or through mutual acquaintances you guys might have. Hotwire tip number 1, always make sure that any online dating profile pics you have look exactly the way you do right now. Maybe ask a couple friends to help you select the photos that look like you now and help you avoid choosing photos that look like the ideal you. Hotwire tip number 2, if you have mutual friends with a guy you feel might be interested in you, make sure those mutual friends convey to him that you're not really looking for anything right now. Now, I know that's counterintuitive, but you absolutely want to do this if you want him to move into the next stage with you. Why? Because guys want what they perceive they can have, making you all the more attractive to pursue. The second stage is the obsession stage. Now, if you're hip to a guy's interests, you want to play it cool and you want to be focusing on things that are absolutely important to you in your life right now. Even if you weren't hip to a guy's interests, you want to be doing this anyway. And by you naturally doing this, it's going to create an extra layer of challenge for him, which drives men wild. In this stage, he's going to make himself known to you and try to slip into your world so that you notice him. Whether that's through an online message or starting a conversation with you in person. Obviously, you can't really play it cool with a guy online, but if you filled out your profile and you chose photos that look exactly like you do today, you're naturally going to have some selections there that you can work with. When you hook a guy with your natural beauty and essence, he's gonna find a way to get your number and ask you out to get to that next stage with you. Hotwire tip number 1, never drop anything in your schedule to make room for a man that you just met. Remember, he's a visitor in your world, not the other way around. Hotwire tip number 2, leverage his initial interest in taking you out to your advantage. What I mean here is build up that anticipation for that first date with him by simply scheduling the first date for a few days after the date that he wanted. And by doing this small little thing, even pushing back a date by a few days, you're actually creating a pattern for him to pursue you. The third stage is the learning stage. This stage, along with stage number 5, are where men are most likely to bail out. These are also the stages where women can do things inadvertently to make men leave faster. But for a guy, this is the stage where he gets to put in the work with you and play detective, and he's loving every minute of it. Ironically, this is the easiest stage for you because you're literally looking for deal breakers to see if this guy can be sorted out, and that's it. The problem is, if a woman really likes a guy within those first few dates, she can just come on too strong and that just ends the chase dead in its tracks for the guy. Hotwire tip number 1, guys are super aware of women that are needy or have nothing of substance going on in their lives. So be the opposite. And an added caveat here for those of you single moms out there, having kids is substance. So just be aware of that. Hotwire tip number 2, you're not setting up any dates, nor are you initiating any texts with him during this stage. Trust me, in the beginning, he loves doing the heavy lifting with those two things. The 4th stage is the luring stage. This is where his attraction for you is really starting to convert in your favor, and now he wants to impress you. You may start to notice him flexing his talents and his skill sets in front of you, so he can show you exactly what he's bringing to the table. Remember though, it's still fairly early on in the attraction process, so his level of vulnerability for you still hasn't yet had time to grow. But his investment in you is on the rise. This stage is really exciting for a woman because this is where the guy is peppering you with attention and good vibes. Hotwire tip number 1, if he's doing anything that genuinely impresses you, make sure you compliment him on it. Guys love a genuine compliment from a woman. Hotwire tip number 2, it might be very tempting in this stage to try to lock this guy down with a statement like, "Where's this going?" Don't do that, because he's already about to ask himself this question in the next stage. The 5th stage is the imagination stage. The imagination stage is where a guy starts imagining what his life would be like with you as his girlfriend. I talk about this stage a little bit more in my other video, How to Be a Priority in His Life, which is a psychological deep dive video. Now I'll make sure to link to that video above for you here. Basically, you might notice a guy start to get a little bit quieter around you during this stage. You might even see him retreat sometimes to be by himself to collect his thoughts. If when a guy is alone with his thoughts, if a guy is feeling that the grass is greener on the other side of the mountain, if that's stronger than his gut feeling for you, this is usually where the guy will walk. Hotwire tip number 1, most guys dread thinking about a life where they're perpetually single. So if they can find a woman that checks most, if not all of their boxes, he's happy to stick around. So just don't try and convince him to. Hotwire tip number 2, never forget your own criteria that you set for yourself when it comes to the man that you desire. How does he really make you feel when you're around him? Make sure to keep that bar high. The 6th stage is the double down stage. Now this is the stage where you guys really get to sync up your levels of interest in one another. The double down stage is a 100% feel good stage. This is where you guys get to really relish in the great things the other person has to offer. Finally, it's the stage where vulnerability really isn't going to scare him off, because he can fully sense and see how much you like him, and he's taking that decision of making a commitment to you very seriously. It's also a deeper form of the imagination stage, but he's feeling much more secure about making that next step with you. Hotwire tip number 1, although it may be tempting, hold off on introducing him to your friends and family right now. He's almost all in with you, so you really don't need any potential wild cards messing things up at this stage. Hotwire tip number 2, patience is totally the name of the game at this point. He's so close to being there, so just lean back and let things play out naturally. The 7th stage is the pledge stage. Let's be clear, when he's ready, he will certainly let you know. But sometimes guys wait a little too long to have that exclusivity conversation with you. If you guys are beyond the 3-month mark and being exclusive together really hasn't come up in conversation yet, and you'd really like to know where you stand with him, this would be the appropriate time to bring it up. But at some point, he's got to clue you in to where he stands. And enjoy this stage. You guys both found a winner in one another, so go out and celebrate together, seriously. Hotwire tip number 1, when in doubt, just lean back a little longer. He's getting there. He's probably already made the decision, but it's another thing for him to verbalize that decision to you. Hotwire tip number 2, it's really healthy if your commitment decision is a 50-50 mix of logic and emotion. You want to share your honest feelings with one another, but you guys would also definitely benefit from having an earnest discussion about what makes you guys work really well together as a couple. So there you have the balance of logic and emotion. As you guys can see, men have a very specific set of steps they need to go through to realize that it's okay to be committed to a great woman that they care about. And like I've mentioned in other videos, commitment is just not something that comes very naturally to men. For that reason, sometimes he just needs to be guided along. Just being yourself is totally fine. But if you have no context for how men process love, then one of the biggest issues you're gonna run up against is timing. You just need to know what stage you're in with a man during this process so you don't scare him off by moving too fast. But also know these hotwire tips so you can help facilitate him along if for whatever reason things are moving super slow. Guys, if you found this video helpful, please give it a like below. Thanks for joining me on another beautiful Monday. I'll see you guys next week.